Hey guys, you are listening to No Further Investigation, your new place for all things Formula One. It is race week again. I'm so excited to say we have got practices and qualifying to talk about as we get ready to discuss the Japan Grand Prix. Joining me, my teammate, of course, it is Will Dixon. How excited are you for this one? Because tell you what, I had a hole in my heart without Formula One and I just needed it back, and I'm glad it is.
Yeah, 2 weeks on, then 1 week off feels jarring. What I think I am most excited about though is this with this race is that it's the last one that is ridiculously early in the morning for us in the UK. And then after this, we're back to afternoon slots, which I'm really looking forward to, and not watching qualifying through like half one open eye.
I mean, let's just remind ourselves of the first Grand Prix, Melbourne. We both don't know why we did it. We both pretty much did an all-nighter.
Yeah.
Well, so the question is, because I have no clue what I'm doing tomorrow, are you going to be doing an all-nighter? Or are you playing
Not
it
not
sensible this time?
playing it sensible this time. No, I've got a busy day. I'm doing a bit of moving around. I'm in London currently and I've got to get back up to Manchester. Then I'm going across to Sheffield. So I'm gonna just wake up early tomorrow morning, get an early-ish night, and then enjoy what's gonna be on offer. What about you?
So I'm currently today gonna host an International Women's Day event for United and Estee Lauder, which is that's gonna be fun. Um and listen, I can always see how long the makeup lasts for because if I do an all-nighter then I don't have time to like take it off. Well, we'll see what happens. So it could be a nice little experiment actually for me. But I have no plans for this evening. Tomorrow I could have some time off. Can you believe that, Will?
Genuinely no. Genuinely no. I refuse to believe it.
Will's known me for a long time, so he
You
knows what I'm
don't.
like.
There are no days off. There are no days off in the world of Zara Connolly.
That there isn't. But as long as you're having a good time, I'm
Exactly.
like a good friend once told me, you're here for a good time, not a long time. And I've ever since I heard that, I've kind of just thought, yeah, that's my time to shine.
Although I'm sure there's a lot of people, Zara, that do want you around for a long time as
Oh,
well. I'm
that's
sure.
lovely. I'll pay you later. Oh, so this is going to be another big race week. We've actually just watched qualifying as well. The practices were interesting. So first of all, we've got to talk about the big news. Kimi Antonelli on pole for a second time.
Mm. Second time in 2 races.
Second time in two races. This is going to be a huge thing for Kimi again because people will now realize it's not a fluke. You can't call it a fluke after two times. Maybe they'll go, oh, he's just doing well for now. But I actually think, is George going to worry?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big one because I mean this weekend it seemed like Kimmy's been ahead of George and had a step ahead of George this whole time. And when you've had 2 races, sorry, when you've had 3 races and the last two that Kimmy's been kind of on top of him, I don't know, maybe George will be sweating a little bit. There's a real possibility that Kimi Antonelli leads the World Championship after tomorrow. And
That's
if you're George,
unbelievable. When you say
yeah,
that sentence, that's
yeah,
wild. If you would have asked me at like this time last year, imagine. Imagine the betting odds on that. Not that I encourage it, but imagine what that would have been like a year ago.
I know, but I mean, just for George going into the season, I know we've spoken about it already, but this is going to be the narrative is that this is meant to be George's opportunity. This is meant to be George's time. And after this first little section of races, Kimi's leading the championship. The pressure's on. The pressure's on. I bet George would be sweating. I don't think he would have expected Kimi to step up in the way that he has done.
And this is how you figure out, especially with these young new drivers coming into the fold, how they deal with pressure. Because if you want to be the best, you've got to deal with the biggest amount of pressures. I mean, I just try to kind of think of all the pressures that's been thrown onto drivers in the past and which ones may not have been able to deal with it. And it just shows
Mm,
really whether you're going to be a contender for the next few years or it's going to be a one-off season.
yeah. Do you think though that maybe? because of the narrative going into the season with George and Kimi, that there was less pressure on Kimi, and maybe that's helping him at this moment in time.
In a strange way, yeah. I mean, this is going to be, it's, I want to say a different standard, but last season when you looked at Lando and Oscar, I think, start of the season, it was the same kind of scenario with Oscar. Everyone was saying it was Lando's year, it was always going to be Lando's year. And then when you seen Oscar, how he slowly was developing, getting better and better and better, and then it was right at the end. So when you look at that scenario, it is an element of you have got pressure on you because you're at a huge team, but if the pressure is not on your shoulders, it's on your teammates, you can kind of just coast through and then wait for your opportunity. And maybe that's what he's been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think he just seems to be driving just really with a lot of freedom. And especially when you consider how the season started. If you remember, he had that big crash in FP3 in Australia, and then Toto having to put an arm around him saying, keep that confidence. And then he bounced back, got second in quali in the race there. And since then, he's been in great form, Kimi. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting dynamic, isn't it? If Kimi wins tomorrow. And yeah, see how he deals with maybe being the favourite.
Yeah, and I feel like although Kimmy being on pole is something that we're now familiar with after the previous race, there are some things that we aren't familiar with because did you hear Lewis Hamilton complain about the car?
Oh, he's now starting to complain about it. I didn't actually hear this.
Yeah, I spotted it on the radio. He said something that like it just wasn't enjoyable to drive. And I was thinking, I I thought you've been enjoying it the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, Ferrari seem to have fallen back a bit, haven't they?
They have.
This
I'm gonna
weekend.
verify this in the meantime, by the way, because I'm sure he just did.
Yeah, go
Unless I'm having sleep paralysis. Paralysis?
paralysis.
That's the one.
I mean, that's very possible. But also, I mean, you've got Oscar in there in P3. Hopefully, can make the start of a race this time, please. Surely not three times in a row. And then Lando splitting the Ferraris in fifth. And Lando's had a hard weekend as well because he wasn't able to do a lot of practice, so he's been on the back foot this weekend. But McLaren, whether it's them coming back a little bit or Ferrari stepping back, it feels like Ferrari have stepped back a little bit.
I actually have the exact quote for you.
Oh,
So this was during the practice yesterday, and he said, I am very slow because I have no confidence in the car. That's a very worrying statement.
it is. I mean, it feels like what we're learning from Lewis this year is he doesn't sort of pull half punches, does he? He's very he's very
He's
this is
on it.
brilliant or it's rubbish.
Yeah.
Like he's just there is no in between with Lewis Hamilton. He's either
No.
loving it or he's like, no, I can't do this. It's terrible.
I mean, fair play to Lewis. At least you know what page you're on.
Yep,
You don't
yep.
have to
He's very
guess.
clear.
He's a man that's honest, has an honest word.
Yeah.
So at least at least you get it. I mean, I'd hate it if you were an engineer though and you were having a bit of a bad day. And all of a sudden you're hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Sort
gonna
of
be interesting.
you've had good vibes for 3 weeks. Lewis loving life. Mojo back, got to Japan. Yeah, no, it's all gone again. It's all gone.
Yeah, I I don't know. It with Lewis though as well, it's he is from what we know for over the years, he's a perfectionist. A huge
Hmm.
perfectionist. He is so passionate about F1, he wants it to get better. On and off the track, he is always on every single tech element of the car. So it could be really bad, or it could be the other flip side of it where there's just one quick fix that needs to be done and it's frustrating him and it's not happening. So he needs to like kick off to get it done. Because
Yeah,
that is a Lewis thing as well.
yeah. And it must be frustrating as well for him if he's had such a good feeling with the car in the last two races, and then you get to round three, and then suddenly you don't have it there,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, but it's just not quite clicking for him. And yeah, Charles was quite a bit ahead of him by the end of qualifying, wasn't he? And well, he's starting second row again. Will we see it again where he jumps ahead of the Mercedes? Do you think at the start?
Oh, potentially. You know what, as well? Charles Leclerc, during qualifying, he was so on the edge. He was so on the edge. And It's
Mm,
so exciting to watch when he's being that borderline aggressive driver because he's
yeah,
pushing his car to the absolute limit. And I enjoy watching him race like that.
yeah,
And I think that's what's been catching Mercedes out when you've got Charles Leclerc like that because he will. I think people underestimate the amount of risks that Charles Leclerc will take when he's driving. People just think Verstappen's the risk taker, when in fact,
yeah,
no, Charles Leclerc is. He is ambitious.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree. When you look at Kimi driving, he's very much driving with it feels like within the limits of the car. I don't mean that as a criticism, but it looks quite comfortable. When you look at Charles driving, he is pushing it right to the ragged edge. And you could see on that last lap he had that big snap coming out of like Spoon going onto the big straight where he probably lost a bit of time there. But that's I think that's what people love about Charles Leclerc. He's kind of this all or nothing driver, isn't he? He will push the car sort of beyond what you think you can do, but then comes out the other side where mistakes happen, crashes have happened. But it's exciting to watch, and it means he's capable of the extraordinary, and he nearly did to get pole away. But being on the second row in a Ferrari, as we've learnt this year, isn't necessarily the worst place to be.
Yeah, I mean that's very true. There's there's lots of curveballs that have been thrown into this qualifying though. You look at Lewis complaining about the Ferrari, Kimi getting pole again, proving that, and then you look at Ollie Behrman. Ollie Behrman was knocked out. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still processing it.
Yeah, well, he's had such a great start to the year. Like Ollie Behrman's fifth in the World Championship. He's ahead of Lando Norris. Which again, if you told me
Don't
that at
hurt
the
my
start of the
heart.
year,
I'm just gonna just cry. Put the McLaren heart.
but yes, yeah, poor qualifying for Ollie. But I mean, that still looks like a pretty good car, especially in their new livery for this weekend. That Godzilla thing that they've got going on. Some really bizarre,
Godzilla.
yeah, really bizarre. I don't know what Mercedes and Haas what this thing about having, a wolf on the Mercedes car and having Godzilla on the Haas. I don't know where all this came from, but you know, something different, something interesting.
I mean, they like to keep it interesting. I mean, I always like on certain races where you know something crazy is going to happen. Have you had a chance to have a look at the mini F1 drivers yet?
Yes, I saw. I
How
think
cute are they?
I've seen the video of Mini Lando, of Lando meeting Mini Lando, and then Mini Lando being like carried through the McLaren garage and like sort of touching the bar like Lando does. Oh, Japan always, this is why Japan is such a special race. You just have these these amazing fans who are so passionate about the sport and they turn out with incredible costumes, incredible designs and these nifty little ideas that they all come up with. It's just yeah. No, I love Japan. Such a great race to see. I'd love to go to one.
Same here. We need to just make a pact. If we ever win the lottery,
Mhm.
unlimited funds, we go to Japan, yeah?
Yeah, I'd go with that one. I'd love to do
Yeah,
that one.
I'd say let's do it. That's
Yeah,
locked in. So
got it.
we're not going to say if. When it happens, we look back at this pod and we go, manifestation works.
Positive
I
manifestation.
will
Yeah,
be there at the Japan F1 Grand Prix.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. But we probably also have to talk about probably the big talking point out of qualifying, Maxi boy, Max Verstappen. He's been on pole, was it the last four times around Japan? Famously defied the odds last year, knocked out in Q2, didn't even make the top 10, out qualified by Isack Hadjar. He's he's really not a happy boy at the moment, is he?
He's not at all. Not one single bit. And you look at the gap. Was it? Was it? I'm trying to think. I feel like Isaac was ahead quite a bit. I mean, I'm just gonna say at the start of the season, I said don't underestimate Isaac Hadjar. I mean, that's
No.
all I'm saying. Just gonna throw it out there. Roll the tape. But yeah,
Trying.
Max, it's I don't know what it is, and I'd love to know your theory on this because listen, there's a few things that don't back this theory, but one that I've got is with these cars, and we've said it from day one, there's loads of risks in the sense that it's so new to so many top tier drivers. One of the facts is that with all these new regulations, it's like getting used to everything again.
Hmm.
The saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? Not calling them an old dog, not. It's just a saying. But I do think that some of the drivers that have got experience will struggle the most because obviously they're used to something else. You look at the drivers like Isaac, like Arvid Lindblad as well, who's obviously outqualified Max. You look at
Yeah.
drivers like that, that it's this is kind of their infancy of Formula One. So this is going to be the norm for them. Whereas it's not the norm for Lando Norris, for Lewis Hamilton, for Max Verstappen, for these big hitters, it's not the norm for them.
No, I mean, this was always this was always kind of what like could happen with like some of the younger drivers, couldn't it, with this? Because you're coming into Formula One and you're having to learn everything from scratch. Yeah, anyone that came in last year, it's not there is obviously this gradual progression through F3, F2, and into Formula One. But Formula One is so different to F2 anyway, before this regulation change that they had to start all over again and learn a completely different race car, learn a completely different way of racing. And then you only have to do that for 1 year. And then you just sort of have to start learning all over again. But it's not like you've had years and years and years of doing it one way that you have to unwind. You're just like, well, I did this last year where I had to learn something completely different to what I knew before. I'm just doing that again. And then you have a driver like Arvid Lindblad who's like, well, I never did that before anyway. So this is just my era of Formula One. This is just my, you know, start and end of the knowledge of what you know about the sport. So yeah, there is probably part of that of some of the drivers who've been around. I mean, it's sort of amazing to think that Verstappen's been around for over 10 years now in Formula One.
Oh, well, that
Time
makes me
really
feel
is flying.
old.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't help
remember
me
when he was,
either.
yeah, I remember when he first come on the scene and everyone was like, this aggressive driver should not be taking part in Formula One. Do you remember the controversy? They were like, he's
Yeah,
not good for the sport. He's going to cause so many issues, so many accidents. When in fact, he was just smart.
yeah.
He
So and
probably,
streetwise,
yeah, he
very
probably was
streetwise.
the one that really pushed driving limits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they changed the rules, didn't they, for Verstappen back in the day. Um, so yeah, there probably is a lot to unpick, but even then, in the first few races, we've seen Lewis adapt to these fairly well, and at least being pretty much on level with Charles Leclerc. So, you know, whether maybe it's the preparation, maybe it's how much they dedicate you to really learning about this and how these cars work, but there's just something about that Red Bull that Max is really not gelling with. And it's come after, a pretty hectic week for him where he obviously did that Nürburgring race. Unfortunately, they won it, but then got disqualified. But he was afterwards, I think he was saying like, "Oh, it's just great not having to look at a battery the whole time and just being able just to go round and round in circles." That's all he wants to do. He just wants to go round and round in circles. Bless him,
Probably,
our Max.
I know it's probably made it worse for him that he's had that and now he's had to jump back into that car and he's thinking, well, this is pants, isn't it?
Just like, I
Like,
don't like it. I'm not happy with this.
I mean,
Want to go
as
home.
yeah, as we know Max Verstappen, there's probably some wonderful, colourful language in there. So he's probably this car is beep, beep, beep. Like that's probably Max right now. And I still hold that theory that this is going to be a defining season for Max when he's looking at teams. The
Mm.
car's like this. He's just gonna figure out what his next move is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one. And I think we could spend a long time digging into that because, I mean, when you look at how Kimi and George are getting on at the moment, because that was always the rumor, wasn't it?
It was.
Mercedes. I'm not really sure you can bin either of them off, even if it's for Max Verstappen.
My thought process is on that. And listen, we can deep dive this at some point because we will have a
Hmm.
gap because we've not even really touched on this. But obviously, the Bahrain and Saudi Arabia Grand Prix are cancelled. That's
Yeah.
when, on no further investigation, we'll be investigating quite a lot. We can spend some time going through it. And one of those has got to be about Max Verstappen. It's I would love to try and figure out with you what we think is the top three teams that he would be able to go to and would cause
Yeah.
the least amount of controversy because we know what F1's like. This is this is not our first race. We're veterans now for how long we've been passionate about this sport.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any move that Max could do that wouldn't cause huge waves
It's Max
in.
Verstappen, he loves it.
If you thought Lewis going to Ferrari caused a domino effect, this one would cause a tidal wave of change if Max moved teams. But I wonder at what point. I just wonder what he's thinking right now.
I,
Just
I
he's just
mean,
not enjoying it, is he?
I mean, I told you what he was thinking. He's like, the car's beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, it's probably quite simple what he thinks. It's just what he's going to do about it is the real question, isn't it?
I always,
He's,
I listen. It's controversial. Some people don't like him. I really like him. I think
yeah.
he's, I think he's refreshing. He's old school, and in some of his views, like his, when you think about some of his views, like he is traditional driver. He just will drive to the limit. Like he's not a rule breaker. He just will see the rules and find the loophole
Mhm.
and isolate the people that make the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that kind of it's sort of what separates, some drivers, isn't it, away from them
Pretty
is that they
much.
they look at it and people have a general kind of acceptance of what maybe the rules should be, what's acceptable and what isn't. And then you have Max, who's very matter of fact, completely plays by the rules, but he'll push them to the absolute limits. And that is part of what makes him so great, isn't
Yeah.
it? But it's, he certainly won't be forgotten, Max, will he? He's gonna be, I mean, he will be remembered as one of the all-time greats, as he should be. But I do wonder how long he's got left in the sport because the idea of him walking away in the very near future doesn't feel like a mad possibility. I mean, he's only 28. He could be in F1 for another 10 years very comfortably, but whether he wants to stick around for it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. We'll have to wait and see for that one. We'll definitely deep dive it. But before we go, we first of all need to have some predictions. So, who is your race winner, first of all?
My race winner, I think we will have a new leader in the Drivers' World Championship. So I'm going to go for Kimi Antonelli to win the Japanese Grand Prix.
You had me there because you had a slight pause when you said a new, and I was like, you're not going to go for Kimi? My heart was in my mouth.
Well, if I was going
I
to say new winner, I'd have to go f quite far down the list of the grid to say who's the new winner. Who's it? Is it Ollie Behrman, a big comeback drive?
this is what I was thinking. Wow, okay. I of course am going to go for Kimi as well, and I'm also going to hopefully predict that they get his name right when he wins.
Please. Oh no, he deserves it. He deserves it. Come on.
He does.
Come on.
I've got faith in Japan. I
Yeah.
have got
Or maybe,
faith.
yeah, maybe they'll just play on it forever. Continuously call him Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, I mean it's the equivalent of at Manchester United when Chris Smalling got called Mike.
Oh, I'm just not even sure how that happens, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
don't know. Oh,
But it
but
just sticks forever, doesn't it?
okay. So there, those are our predictions for the winner of the Japan Grand Prix. Randomly, before we shoot, any surprises you think will happen? Do you reckon there's a DNF on the cards for someone? I mean, it's the 2026 season. I'm gonna say there's gonna be a few.
There will be a few. Whether it's any of the big hitters, though, I'm not sure. I do think we'll see the first McLaren podium, though.
Oh wow.
And
Is it really
I
bad that
think
I think it could I think one of them could DNF?
one of the McLarens. You see, I don't know. It's such a difficult one to predict, though, reliability. You can't really
Yeah.
predict it. So I'm kind of going with the idea that everyone miraculously will finish, probably apart from the Aston Martins, unfortunately. Um, but I think having not started either of the last two Grand Prix, I think Oscar Piastri is coming back strong and he's gonna, yeah, get his in his first full Grand Prix of the year, he's gonna get on the podium.
I
So
hope so.
yeah, that'd be
I'm
nice. He
gonna,
deserves it.
I want something good for McLaren. I really do. Oh, but that is all we have time for. A little Japan Grand Prix preview. Hopefully, we will be back with a Kimi Antonelli win because I feel like, well, me and you are hyping him up quite a bit and I'm enjoying it. So we'll have to wait and see. Let us know your thoughts, who you think the race winner is gonna be, and we'll chat things all through on no further investigation. So thanks very much, Will. Make
Thank you very
sure
much.
you get to bed on time. We'll get up early with a brew and we'll chat it through. So yeah, bye.
Bye.